the normal people be like, yes, we finally have guns. And like, no, no, no. We have rifles.
What? Is that not a gun? No, no, no.
No.
It's a rifle. Well, for those of you watching, welcome. It is now the Marching Arts Podcast, your guide to all things marching. And as I said before, we like to talk about everything good, bad, pretty ugly, everything in between.
Where do you put yourself in that list?
I like to think I'm pretty.
Okay.
Okay. But I don't know. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Margaret probably thinks I'm not super pretty. So
she thinks you're pretty ugly.
Heyo.
You get both, the best of both worlds.
Zinger. But today for you guys, we wanted to talk about hypotheticals.
No. This will happen at some point.
And what we're talking about, of course, obviously, is a zombie apocalypse. Okay. And whether or not, from score order down, if the section would survive the apocalypse.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just start with the flutes and piccolos. So I have personal experience with this. Gosh.
Yeah, sure you do.
Yeah, I just slay zombies every night, don't you?
I mean, if you include zombies as my sleep paralysis demon, yeah.
Oh, well, I just usually eat some cranberries and then just dream of killing zombies all the time.
Well, if you're eating cranberries, probably you have a secondary demon that you fight in the bathroom, but...
Ayo.
Hey-yo.
Anyways, gosh. I've been in 2 flute/piccolo sections. I would say the piccolos... I feel like we would get weighed down by the flutes. But then again, the flutes you can swing as larger weapons against the zombies, so that is helpful.
Yeah, but they might not last as long. They're flutes.
I mean, I guess.
It'll fall apart.
You don't want the shrill sound of the piccolo attracting all the zombies because we cannot resist the urge to play on our instrument.
Well, but it could be useful, right? If you're,
Calling
you need
for help.
Yeah, you need to signal somebody, but it's kind of like your last resort.
Yes, somebody's calling for help in hopefully pitch perfect B flat.
It's a piccolo. It's never pitch perfect. You just have to tune to the person who's the least out of tune.
No, what you do is you set up in a circle and everybody tunes to the person to the left, and there you go. You never are in tune. Because you're always adjusting to the person to your left.
Yeah. So I think in this case, short term, I think they'd be fine. Long term, however, at the beginning of the outbreak.
Always drama, sorry, calling ourselves out, but there is always some sort of drama in the piccolo section/flute section, so I would have to agree somebody would get either voted off the island or get very vengeful and try to let the zombies in just to not deal with that other person.
Right, or they'd let zombies in and be like, I didn't do that.
I didn't do that.
It was so-and-so. They just let the door open and they walked in.
Yeah, Margaret, gosh. Rude. All right, so let's move on down to the clarinets.
The clarinets.
Clarinets.
I think, as far as creativity goes, I feel like clarinets will be able to get a pretty cool system down and going. But on the same kind of token, I feel like they would get so caught up with trying to have some elaborate home base that they didn't realize they had, like a dozen zombies or so walking in their front door.
Yeah, I was about to say, most of the clarinets I know are homebodies, so they might not even realize there's a zombie apocalypse until it's literally episode 1 of Walking Dead, and they've stepped out because they had to go outside for some reason. They're like, oh.
So the clarinets collectively would be Rick Grimes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can take that as a compliment since Rick Grimes survived all the way up to season 8 out of 12.
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Oh, spoiler. Sorry.
Spoilers. I stopped watching when Glenn died.
Oh, well, that's
another spoiler if you haven't watched it.
But I don't know. I guess they could use their Reeves as shivs/spearheads. That's assuming they can find reeds, slash they took care of their reeds and they had more than one at a time in their case.
That's a big ask. But also, I mean, sure they can, make it into a shiv or a spear, but it's got multiple pieces. It's in like 4 pieces, right?
The reed?
No, the clarinet in total.
Oh, the clarinet,
Because
yeah.
you can't just walk up to it just the reed. I mean, I guess you could, but some clarinet player just said bet.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Would a clarinet be more sturdy than a flute when you're whacking a zombie?
I don't know. I should ask my mom though. She says she got kicked out of band. She was a clarinet player. She had a
Oh,
blue
okay.
clarinet and got kicked out because she bashed
Had a
somebody over
blue
the head with
clarinet?
it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she bashed somebody over the head with it and got kicked out.
All right, clarinet, people who have smashed a clarinet before, please know how sturdy it is, but also I'm sure you can stay anonymous since I'm sure your band directors don't want to know that you smashed a clarinet.
But I think so. Rating for the clarinet in general, I think they would honestly go pretty far because, like I said, they're going to be creative. Like you said, they're going to be homebodies. However, when it comes down to it, and combat is the answer, I think we would be losing some clarinets.
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know.
And
Once
the
they got
zombies
to
would-
that long term of like having to scavenge and go out and like do like what movie was it? Shaun of the Dead, where they're at the mall and they have to like
Yes.
escape. Yeah, I don't know how well that would go.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on where they're trapped.
That's true.
Because if they did like the Shaun of the Dead thing, and they were in a mall, I feel like they'd be okay for a little bit until they actually got confrontational with the zombies.
Right.
So overall, decent survival rate. So what's next on the score order?
Alto saxophones and the other saxophones since we gotta condense for time.
Yeah. So just saxophones in general.
Yeah.
Man,
I don't think they could keep their saxophone shut.
I feel like it would turn into a giant concert.
Exactly.
And they would just be a beacon because saxophone players love to play saxophone.
Unless they like learn to actually play Careless Whisper at a Careless Whisper level.
Oh well, yeah. I don't think I could do that. I'm not a woodwind player, but I don't think I could play Careless Whisper any sort of quiet.
That's true.
I'm also a trombone player, so I don't know what the word quiet means. So,
but I do think saxophones would have the most style points.
I agree. Because I mean, you got to think about it, right? Saxophones have their own world, right? I mean, a lot of the sections have their own world, but saxophones are beyond.
Yes.
So it could be a hit or miss, right? With the survival, because there's some saxophone sections out there that are just about the memes and not really about much else.
But I think they are smart enough to know when somebody is dead weight, so they'd be like, bye.
Bye-bye.
If somebody wasn't pulling their weight, just be like, hey, you gotta go.
It's time to go. And so then how would you think they get rid of them? Would they just like cook them out to the wolves, or would they drive them out somewhere and like kick them out the door, right?
That's a good question.
Like
I think
how people like
I think they would end up driving them if there was no like hard feelings, which is I guess kind of hard to do in a zombie apocalypse. But however, I do think there would probably be at least one person who says, "I'll go with you," to like make sure that they aren't alone. I think saxophones are pretty buddy like that, unless you're that one person that everybody hates. But let's not get into that.
Well, we're not going to get into that one. Overall survival rating, probably I'd say pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Because also they have a tough instrument, so they can just
Yeah,
turn around and
that-
smack the crap out of things
yeah.
with it. Now they mess up all their keys, but
I don't know.
at the point you're smashing a zombie, I don't think you're worried about your keys.
I guess I could see some saxophone players, if they're like actually more into jazz and whatnot, they like really care about the instrument. They might be like, whoa, we can't use our instrument to smash the
Okay, but I
zombie."
also think the ones that are super, passionate about the status of their instrument will probably go out in the first wave.
No, those are the most selfish people. So they're the ones hiding behind everybody else who's actually, keeping the group alive.
Then they're the ones that if things go wrong, they're yelling at people to
Yeah,
make it go right, but they're not helping it anyway.
right. They'll try to be the bard of the group and play songs to us to
I need a song of health, please.
yes.
Beep, 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 beep,
It's
beep.
not helping.
But again, overall, I think saxophones do pretty good.
Yeah.
I think overall. So next we're on to
Oh.
mellows or trumpets.
I always put trumpets in front of mellows on the score.
But I guess they're kind of
Score.
interchangeable depending on who sets up the score.
Yeah, I guess so. If you're a trumpet person, you put trumpet in front. If you're,
If you're
a mellow person, you put
or,
mellow
or
in
French
front.
horn will be
Right.
more concert correct.
Yeah, but I still... that is a good question. Would a mellophone or a French horn be a better weapon against a zombie?
Oh, a mellophone.
You think so?
100%. 100%. They're lighter, and also I could see a French horn being a better shield
Oh,
than
yeah.
a weapon because it's round and really dense.
Now I want to
So-
see a Captain America shield skin on a French horn.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like just have it as like a clip-on.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait until DCI takes my idea now. And now there's
yeah.
like a Marvel show for DCI and they have French horns and they put Captain America's shield on it.
Quick, someone copyright this.
I have it recorded, so
Heyo, we have the creative license.
Yeah. Let's go with trumpets. Start
Okay.
with trumpets.
So trumpets, I feel like would start out well, but they're all super individual people with how they play, and they're all wanting to be superstars. So
Yeah.
I feel like eventually they turn on each other.
It would end up being like Mad Max,
Yeah.
where there would be one trumpet overlord, and then there'd be lots of minions, but all the minions are trying to prove themselves to the overlord, and we know how that goes sometimes. Actually, most of the time.
Most of the time. So I feel like in the first waves they would band together pretty well, but then pretty shortly, there would be like trumpet factions,
Oh, absolutely.
and then they'd be at war with each other, and then there'd be no trumpets. Or I'm sorry, there would be one remaining like super faction.
Yeah.
Um,
They would go far
They would go
once
far.
they weeded out everybody who didn't fit the perfect personality of that group.
So I feel like I can't give them a good survival rating because if they have the multiple factions and the factions go against each other, that's not a high survival rate. But what I can say, so say the survival rate's like 40%.
That's
Right.
really high.
Well, think about it. If the factions join, I'm trying to be forgiving.
Okay.
So like a 40% survival rate. In that 40%, I'll be a little more strict. We'll do a 30%. In that 30%, I feel like the long-term survival would be like 80 or 90%.
Oh yeah. I would honestly say trumpets would probably just from sheer will be the longest surviving instrument out of all the groups.
Yeah,
But we
just
can
'cause-
revisit that in the end.
Because they're trumpets.
Yes.
So then I guess we move back to French horn and mellows and which one
Yeah.
we would do.
Oh, one last comment. I know there's that one trumpet player who would stay alive just so they can play taps at the very end of the zombie apocalypse. And they'd be like, I survived just for this
Just for
moment.
this reason, I have spent my whole life waiting for this moment.
Exactly.
Literally.
But yeah, mellows and Frenchies.
Mellows all the way.
Yeah.
I think would do better. So more agile instruments, lighter.
Every mellow section I've seen, which isn't that many, but still I've seen plenty. They, I think, are the most gelled together group out of most sections and bands.
I agree. They're the section, one of the sections that goes and like hangs out
Right.
and does stuff outside of just rehearsal and band of
Right.
games.
So,
So for me, I think mellows would go a really long way. French horns, if we're gonna lump them together, then I think they're an impenetrable force because then they're gonna have shields and weapons.
Yeah.
So
My-
as long as they get a good drop with where they can get supplies at, I think they would number one rank. I think for me would be mellows and
I
French horns.
think for me, I think the hardest part for them is what happens if they do end up having everybody survive. So let's say there's 20 of them and they do run out of supplies. Are they willing to make the sacrifices necessary for the overall group?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, they would all try to find a way And then when you get desperate, you make mistakes, and then that emotional connection with the rest of your group members means that yes, you're trying to do the right thing of taking care of everybody, but then you also have to think about taking care of yourself.
Right. And that's a lot deeper than just the zombie
Right.
apocalypse.
Then you have philosophical questions we need to answer, which we just don't have the time for today.
No. But if you do want to hear philosophical answers, you can find us on Marching Arts Pod everywhere. So where are we on to next? Are we
Oh, we
on
have
to?
to give a rating of the
Oh, well, I
Malcolms,
said that they would do pretty well.
both in short and long term.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because
Fair enough.
short term they're already pretty connected, so they'd
Right.
probably get set up pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then long term, continuing that trend, they
Mm-hmm.
would be able to mesh well,
Yeah.
unless they run into that issue you brought up and they had to make a
Right.
section wide decision.
All right. So next is I guess we separate out trombones from baritones. Yeah.
Yes, because they're on the same line on the score, but they're totally different.
So you say.
It is what I say, coming from the trombone player. I think in this case, we'll go with baritone first. And it's an important question whether we're talking about an upright baritone, the one where they sit down, or if it's a baritone just like the mellow French horn situation.
Well, I mean, and we did mellow and French together, so we might as well do both.
Yeah. I personally feel like in a lot of baritone sections, there's some odd people.
I was about to say, yeah, they probably have the crazies that are willing to do whatever necessary
Yeah.
to get through.
So I feel like short term, it would be very chaotic for them. But long term, it'd probably work out.
If they got to the long term, yeah,
It
they'd
would
be good
work
to
out.
go.
But they would definitely have some like mavericks in the beginning. It might even be that they start their own factions
Right.
just out of necessity. And then they would join as a super faction for the long term.
But when society collapses, there's no labels anymore, so it's just whatever you got to do
Well-
to survive.
Well, if society collapses, then when these factions get together, these sections get together, then
Yeah.
they're going to make their own society.
That's true.
It just happens automatically.
I mean, I guess.
So, is society ever really dead?
Yes.
No. All right. Well, that's the. So rating for them short term, I think it would be a little nutso, but long term, I think it would be fine
If they got there.
if they got there. So, not top rank, pretty middle of the pack for me.
Okay. Fair enough.
So right now, out of the ones we've talked about, definitely mellows and French horns are the lead for me. And then we get into trombones.
Oh boy.
Trombones, man,
They probably have the best weapon.
they definitely have the best self-defense mechanism for sure. They have 3 separate weapons
Yeah.
because they can take off the slide cover. That's one. If that one breaks, they can just take off the slide in general and use that, and then they can stab with it. And then if that doesn't work, you just use the bell and clonk people with it. So 3 separate weapons. However, organizational skills not there. So
Ooh, calling yourselves out.
yes. Man, 10 plus years in trombones and low brass sections, man. I know it. I know it.
I could definitely see trombones also creating factions just out of survival.
Yeah.
But it would be based on parts, not
would.
even like
It would.
personality.
It would. First trombones would think that they're alphas and make their own faction and be like, we're the best, you guys know nothing. Second parts would be like, okay, but we're the best support people, so like we're gonna do our own thing and we're gonna be just fine. And then third trombones are like, what about us? And the other two say, shut up, no one's talking about you. So and then there's bass trombones, they probably aren't gonna be with the rest of the trombone people.
Yeah.
So overall, short term I think would be great. Long term, I'm not so sure.
Not so sure.
Because I don't know is that they'd be able to get it together.
Right. I think they would end up having to merge with another group / like doing a co-op just to get that structure in their life.
I feel like it would be like the unbeatable situation, right? I think would be if the trombone factions got with the mellows and French horns.
Yeah.
Because then it's impenetrable.
Well,
Because
Then you
then,
have
well,
a
because no, they could do the whole Sparta thing. You have the French horns out front with with their
shield.
instrument, and then you have the trombone standing over the back with the spears.
You don't think there'd be one lone wolf that would be sympathetic to the zombies after a certain amount of time and just be like, I'm just gonna let them in and end it all?
Oh, maybe, but that's true for any side of them, right?
I guess so.
It's how strong is your mental capacity. Um, which
Which section
section
would
would
have
have
caused
caused?
the zombie
Ooh,
apocalypse?
probably also trombones. Because they would have tried to, so one of them's going to be like, I want to get ahead of the collapse, so I'm going to try to make a cure for zombinism.
I was about to say either trombones or sousaphones, because who knows what grows in
No,
y'all's areas.
we're not to Souzas and tubas yet. I definitely don't think it would have been Souzas that started it.
I think they could accidentally just like have something growing in the corner and they're like, oh, this is our pet until it starts biting people. And then it's like, oh, look how cute it is.
But then at the same time, when it starts biting people, the tubers are going to be like pointing fingers at every other section, saying,
Yeah.
"Why did you let this happen? This is your fault. I did nothing wrong. I'm just chilling."
You made him bite you.
You made him bite me. This is your fault.
Yeah, let's move on to sousaphones with that.
I guess
then.
since we're talking about them, man, I think they have a pretty big advantage just because of the instrument size.
Mhm.
They could literally build walls with their instrument.
Well, are we talking about sousaphones or contras?
Well, it depends, because I think if you're gonna talk about the style of the tuba, I feel like the Sousa's in its own class. Like I feel like the J22s and the Sousas could get together, but I don't feel like the Contras could get with Sousas because the way the Contra's laid out looks a lot like a concert tuba.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would relate, and then Sousa's and like the J22s type deal.
I don't know. I feel like the Brotherhood of Sousa is strong enough they wouldn't care. And they would all band together.
I don't know about that. I feel like in their individual territories, they would be very strong together. But as soon as another sousaphone section showed up, it's all hell breaks loose. It'd be everyone for themselves, or well, not everyone for themselves, but one faction versus another.
I don't know. I feel like sousaphones try to create an aura of like cool slash off, like they're their own thing. But the moment you bring something relatable to them, then you're part of them. So
Well,
I
it
think
depends, because you can bring something relatable and then tarnish your reputation with them pretty quick. Us talking about this makes me think about when we were at Kennesaw, and for the marching house, the Sousa section decided to make their own currency. Yeah, and they made like a whole market value of it and everything,
God.
and they like monitored the market value.
so they are the original crypto bros.
Yeah, and they were trying to remember what they called it. I'm also trying to remember if it's safe for work. I don't think it's safe for work now that I think about it. But yeah, they had their I mean, I'll talk about it if you want. That's what I thought. But I don't know. I feel like it really depends on the territory, right? We already said that we're gonna kind of talk about that since we have a lot more time.
Yeah.
But I feel so. I mean, I guess we can go ahead and do that. Like, I feel like tuba sections in like the southeast would probably mesh pretty well together because
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because they're all, as far as all the ones that I've seen, have been pretty similar. Pretty big meme focused, or they have their outliers that are very calm, collected, and just like, okay.
I would also say they're probably chaotic neutral, where they wouldn't be that upset that there was a zombie apocalypse going on, and they would just like seeing all the chaos happening around them, and then having their own fortress be like, "This is Sousaland."
Right, until it started to bother them.
Yeah.
Then they would do something. That I agree with. Now, as far as like tuba sections in like the northeast, I don't know.
Yeah, we have nothing. We know nothing.
That's
I guess
an area I have very little expertise in.
I guess Big Ten, like, the high step, chair step style groups, I feel like their sousaphones are very serious. I don't know. I guess that just could be like game day personality
Maybe
because they, want to represent their band
school.
as well as they can. But if they brought that warrior mentality essentially to the zombie apocalypse, I could see, yeah, those sousaphones could go really far if they're not necessarily as laid back.
Yeah, but also they'd have to fight a very defensive battle because they have a massive instrument. They're not just going to be
Yeah,
hauling swinging that thing
they're the
around
tank.
unless there's two players out there just one handing their freaking sousaphone and swinging it around like a sword.
I'm sure there's DCI videos out there.
I'm sure. I'm not surprised. If there were. But then, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they could uncurl all of their instruments and they would have like miles and miles
That's
of
fair.
fencing.
Isn't one Sousa like 18 feet or something? 17 feet?
Yeah, something like
If
that.
you roll it out, can someone fact check me?
Can you fact check us?
This is important. I'm not continuing until I know.
16? Aw.
Well, I guess that's the end of my.
You over exaggerated as
yeah,
you
but-
usually do.
You gotta be mean. Look, I know I'm dramatic, but you don't gotta call me out. But no, I agree. I think if they rolled everything out and stretched it all out, they'd have a pretty good situation going.
Now, I guess changing gears a little bit, what sections do you think would end up working together? Let's say like it wasn't a big 300, 200 person band and, sections had to band together because there's only like 5 people per section. What sections do you think would mesh well?
I think that wouldn't mesh well. Maybe. Well, I mean, I guess the obvious choice would be low brass with low brass.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I was going to say we totally skipped percussion and guard.
Oh.
We aren't supposed to do that.
No, we got to go back.
We got to go back. Take it back now, y'all.
6 hops this time.
No, two groups this time. Or two, I don't know. What do you call them? 2 auxiliaries this time.
Bam, bam.
Reverse.
Okay, well, we can start with guard then.
Okay.
Perfect
weapons.
I know. I mean, as far as offense goes,
Yeah.
they got it. But what do you think about
like
their
you can
defense?
still use flags as defensive, like keeping them back.
Well, then also, yeah, and if they get through, you can just wrap them up in the flag.
I know a lot of guards now use like rope and like chains as visual effects, so they could use those too.
Well, and also saber.
Yeah.
I mean, take off the
Tape off the tape and
tape
yeah.
off the tape.
No, take the tape off.
I know you said tape off the tape.
No, I said take off the tape. Anyways, you could probably grind the saber down to actually have a blade on it. Yeah.
And then they win.
Now, if they came across normal folk, non-marching band people, they'd be like, yeah, we got rifles.
Yeah, fair enough.
The normal people would be like, yes, we finally have guns. And like, no. We have rifles.
What? Is that not a gun? No. It's a rifle.
We can throw it really far.
And we can clobber people with them.
Yeah.
You ever been hit with a rifle?
I think I've caught one improperly, so technically yes.
No.
Not on the field though. I have seen other people get hit by a rifle.
I got hit on the side of the head with a.
How did it feel?
I mean, I have a pretty hard head.
Oh.
There's no brain up there, so yeah.
Oh, so you already are a zombie.
Yeah.
Oh. So
Surprise.
you're saying thumbs down on the rifle then, since it didn't cave your brains?
No, I wouldn't say thumbs down because a normal person probably would get their, get wrecked.
Get wrecked.
I was trying to make it again safe for work. So
Now-
no, guard. I still feel like we do pretty good.
I would say they probably have the most clickiest group though.
That's definitely. They'll definitely get into factions.
Yeah.
Or break off.
And they would literally go to war with each other
Absolutely over the flags.
over everything.
Yeah.
And like, would they survive that? It wouldn't be necessarily surviving the zombie apocalypse. It would
They'd be
be
surviving each
surviving the
other.
fact that they are in a zombie apocalypse.
There would be. I feel like the zombie apocalypse would be happening,
Yeah.
and
It's
every
just
other
secondary
section would be dealing with zombies, and the zombies would see the guard
and be like,
and be
no,
like,
no, no,
"Never
no, no.
mind,"
We don't want to deal with that.
and then, but the guard goes to war with themselves.
Right. They got to do something to fill their time.
Yeah. Or I mean, they'll probably try to perfect their quads.
Yeah.
And by quads, I mean the tosses, not the.
Well, I was thinking 13s.
No, or 13s.
Yeah, quads. You can do that in your sleep if you're a guard person.
I can't.
You're not a guard person.
I mean, you used a mace.
You usually use
I know
your
how to do a
hands.
J toss.
Okay, but that's a mace, not a flag or a rifle.
Still hurts when I hit you, though.
Yeah. But with a mace, do you have to deal with the wind?
A little bit.
No, just a little.
Just a little bit, not much though.
Oh.
Depends on the mace, because if, like the one that we used that had the tassel all the way around it, the wind would grab the bottom tassels and throw it.
Interesting. Oh, and we forgot drum majors. How could we? And staff.
Where would drum majors fit? There'd only be, max 4.
Okay, so that's still enough to have a survival group. Haven't
I
you
guess,
seen Zombieland?
Yeah. But also, I feel like drum majors would just compete with each other on who's the best survivor.
Who's the best survivor? That could be helpful in the zombie apocalypse, though, unless like you got too egotistical and did stupid things to try to prove yourself.
Yeah, I guess. But and at the same time, I mean, they might even, band together, and they'd have a pretty solid group. I feel like they would be diplomats in the zombie
Between
apocalypse
the groups?
and but also they would probably try to facilitate the groups trying to work together.
That would go terribly. And then the drum majors would know it's going terribly, but they put the smile on their face saying everything's going great.
Yeah. Reset. One more time. We're only going to do it one more time. Hold on. We need to get one more. You need to get one more.
This is the last run.
Last run. One more for good measure.
So guard. Short term, long term? Yes, no?
Both. I mean,
Yes and no.
yeah. Short term. Short term. I guess. Yeah.
If you got a
Depends on where.
Yeah, if you got a really strong guard group and there are no outliers / like the whole group really gels as a group, they would do pretty well, I think. But I feel like more often than not, that's not the case.
Well, but then also it depends on how many other guard groups there are in the area. Like Cobb County, right? There's a lot of marching bands, a lot of color guard groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like eventually they would all.
Now that's a whole nother question. Would other bands sections mingle with other band sections, hypothetically, knowing how crazy this sounds? Like all the bands are together in their own separate practice facilities when the zombie apocalypse breaks out?
I think it depends, because if it's say it's the high school level, right, and you got I don't think one high school is going to have too much pride to like go and like go to their rival school and be like, yeah, let's work with your band. They're gonna be like, no.
I think, you would have to be college age or older to survive, I think, because anything younger, just Lord of the Flies would happen, and they would just cannibalize themselves.
I hope not, but also I would also hope there's not a zombie apocalypse, but
it's gonna happen.
Confirmed. Government confirmed it.
Yeah, alrighty.
Via the Area 51 raid.
Yeah, and check the Onion. They always have up-to-date news about what's happening in the world.
The Onion is a very, very reliable news source.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Best news source.
All right, let's move on to percussion.
Okay, this is going to be a hard one for me.
I don't think it's a hard one. They would think they're looking very BA and cool when they're dealing with a zombie apocalypse while everybody else is watching them being an absolute train wreck.
I mean, I guess that's true, but also I was gonna throw up the argument that with guard and drumline, and are we including battery in this? Or I'm sorry, pit in this?
Ooh, pit people would say, pit. is a very peculiar creature because sometimes they do want to be included with battery,
Other
but
times they
other
don't.
times they don't.
And also, as far as I know, pit people are very individualistic.
Yeah, I guess so. Because, like, I guess that whole, the nature of percussion is you have to be the best.
Yeah.
So it is a lot more selective. So, yeah, I guess that trait would carry over to
Yeah.
survival.
Um, but however, I feel like because of if they've been doing guard or drumline
Hmm.
for a long time, they have those physical requirements and they're in much better shape because they practice a lot more than like the normal band does,
Right.
or the rest of the ensemble.
But
So I feel like a short term they would do pretty well because they would,
they would be able to barricade themselves really well. But, like, once you puncture a drum head, it's game over.
yeah,
Like, I guess you could tear it down to like individual butt nuts and bolts and whatchamacallit, but you wouldn't be able to get much mileage out of it because a drumstick is just unfortunately not going to last
a
nearly as long.
drumstick is a drumstick.
Yeah, like you can snap it in half to become a shiv, but other than that,
Can
like
you snap a drumstick just kind of like
we can certainly try.
that? Do you have a drumstick?
Yes, actually.
You should try.
No, they're
Oh,
expensive.
okay. Well,
But like you couldn't do anything with like pit mallets. Those are too thin. Those would be more arrows once you snapped off the head.
what about? Oh, I guess that's a bass drum mallet. It's not really a pit
Yeah,
mallet.
like
I was gonna
I
say you
guess a
use a bass drum
timpani,
mallet.
bass
Yeah.
drum or timpani mallet, but those are too soft. Like, yeah, sure they hurt, but they're not gonna hurt nearly as bad.
Well, at least on the timpani ones, you could just flip them over and use the side
Yeah, but
rather than the mallet
you're
head.
going for kills instead of injuries, so you gotta think about that.
No, we'll just do it like the Joker. Make it disappear in the eye.
I don't think the zombie is gonna cooperate with you that well.
Yeah, well, get good, son.
You know.
It's an apocalypse.
Do you think the battery would come together as a battery, or would it just be snares for themselves, tenors for themselves, cymbals for themselves, and bass drums for themselves?
Um, I think they'd come together. I would like to think that. Um, but ultimately, I feel like there's some out there where I feel like they would get together, and
Mm.
then for whatever reason, they would all die like pretty quick because they'd be too distracted with their drum pads.
I still have to
Still,
practice.
still practicing paradiddle diddles.
They're like trying to sneak out of a like their encampment is surrounded and they're trying to sneak out, but somebody's still like practicing their
It's
paradiddles.
just like
Oh boy. So short term, yes, long term, no.
um. Honestly, for me, it's gonna be both a no.
Both no.
I don't think they would do well personally.
I think they could do short term and then it would splinter into factions and then I don't even know which faction would end up doing the best. Probably bases cuz bases usually they do vibe the
I think we've
best.
forgotten about one very important group in the drumline that I think would actually do really well. This is cymbals.
No, I've been mentioning symbols. Cymbal players can get very egotistical about which beat they play on. The people who are playing on the beat, sorry, but I played off the beat, and we know we are the real champions of the cymbal line. So
Mm,
I know I would carry that ego around with me. Like, sorry, you play on the ones and the
I'm better than
ands.
you.
Yeah, and
I have to actually count.
yes, we the ones that play on the E's and the U's actually, do the actual hard stuff. So your opinion doesn't count. Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry. You heard it here, folks. Offbeat symbols are better than.
So yes, I think the offbeat symbols could yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
The
think
question was
offbeat
asked
symbols
if they're two
could
separate instruments.
could band together with other offbeat symbols around the country and do just fine. But we'd always sort of look down
You don't
on
think that's
the
that?
on-beat.
You don't think that some off symbol group would try to alpha the other ones?
I mean, if we were getting down to 16th note, maybe, but I don't
Well,
think we got time.
I think if you're only in a group of uh offbeat symbols. You're not gonna ever play the downbeat. You're gonna play everything but the downbeat out
No,
of
no, no. We
spite.
we will all know collectively within our mind that one is on a certain beat.
Rebecca wants y'all to know that the same with the symbols would throw their shield, the symbols like Captain America and cut the zombies' heads off.
Yes, that was gonna be my point.
Well, so have you ever held a symbol?
Yeah.
They're heavy. Well, the older styles, and lots of places
Okay,
still
but
use the older symbols.
Okay, fair, but we're talking about college-aged individuals, and remember, we just made the argument that somebody's out there swinging their contra around as a baseball bat. So, the same rule has to apply with symbols.
Yeah, I guess so.
So they could sit here and parry off a zombie and then just shink.
I will say we do love to clean our symbols, so we would get the symbol very sharp, very quickly.
Yeah. So I feel like you also symbols would also find like some kind of whetstone somewhere. It's just like.
I will say we do get attached, very attached to our personal set of symbols. So if we did crack them, that would be quite an emotional day for all of us.
So then you guys would have to treat them like katanas.
Yeah.
You need to directly between the joints.
Yeah. Nobody else can use our pair of symbols. If they break, then we have to go on a journey to find our next pair.
Or you
and
have
we
to
can't
challenge
rejoin.
the next the next group of symbols for their symbols.
That would be actually pretty funny.
Yeah. So for me personally, drumline as a whole, no to both, but I think symbols specifically, yes to both. Just because they, I mean, they could Captain America. That not safe for words.
That's America's,
Huh?
Nothing. Anyways, let's not ignore our staff because they are an integral part of all bands. So,
Okay, staff, I feel like wouldn't actually band together as a group. I feel like they would gravitate to what they were teaching.
Oh, what they were teaching?
Yeah. Like, if you have like a woodwind tech,
They would be with the woodwinds.
they would stick with the woodwind or the instrument that they played.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think the staff
know.
would. I don't think the staff would get together.
I think the staff, like, bless their hearts, I'm sure they do get sick and tired of some of the sections they do teach. So they might actually have the opposite effect. Like, oh, no. I spend 4 hours a day with them. I already know what they would be like in an apocalypse. I'm going to go hedge my bets and join a different group.
I guess, yeah.
And
maybe.
most people like the instructors at their school / group. So it's not going to be like, oh, no, you can't join us. Seats taken.
Seats taken. I guess that makes sense. But then what about directors? Since we're talking about
that'd be
staff, what do
hard,
they do?
'cause, like, directors would want to be directing, and like if
Ooh,
you
know what?
don't
I think directors would be the one that started the apocalypse.
doing what, screwing up Empire.
Something, I don't know, but they would be the ones that would start the apocalypse because then they could sit back in their offices and watch everything burn while grading papers because school system sucks.
I don't think directors. I don't think they have the time to. Honestly,
They don't have the
they
time
would
to start an apocalypse.
they would be patient zero if anything, just
They
from
would-
exhaustion.
You don't think
but
they would?
still wanting to continue to live the life as a director because that's all they love to hate.
That's all they love to hate. Oh man, what a statement. But you don't think in their summer break they would start in the summer where everyone's hanging out and
No, I don't
not
think
with
so.
them so they could hide and prepare?
I don't know the personal lives of many directors because obviously why would I? But I don't know if they have friends.
Yikes.
They spend all their time doing band.
Are directors lonely people?
I'm pretty sure. That's why that's why the techs have the best life because they like only show up for
A couple of months.
and they can do whatever they want in the other time.
Yeah, fair enough. So we got to rate it though. Where are we going to make staff fall? Long term, short term? What you got?
I guess it just depends on what group they're in. I don't know. Sometimes like adults can be more childish than like children adults. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So just depending on how mature they can be and how open they are to communicating and working together would depend.
Well, I
'Cause-
guess, but then could you technically say that in the short term, the staff probably would cease to
Yeah.
exist because they would join a different
No,
section?
I would say in the short term they would do really well because they, would just be like, all right, this is the day to day. This is what we need to stick to. But after that, when like their authority starts to get challenged, then we might see some fracas.
They're going to
happening.
be the ones that divide the factions in the sections and lead the factions.
No, guys, I think we should do this. Not
Well,
that.
no, I think we should do this. We're gonna riot.
Well, I'm your instructor, so
We're going on strike.
yeah.
In a zombie apocalypse.
So, with that, how do you think the director of the Marching Owls has prepared the band for a zombie apocalypse?
Honestly, I feel like they're pretty locked in because they share that big building together.
Yeah,
So you could
Bandsmart.
they could just lock themselves in Bandsmart
Yeah.
and then send out raiding parties for supplies. So, and they're kind of secluded because they're in, they have
Yeah.
a giant parking lot around
They're
it.
separated with the highway. A lot of the zombies would get stuck in the highway.
Mhm.
They did fill in a lot of that land around Bandsmart, though, so that's not helpful because it used to be more Modi.
Yeah, but they really just filled it in with like student housing. So
That's worse.
well, worst comes to worst, they could try to overtake that student housing next to the building, and then they could just occupy that. Now everybody's got their own apartment.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like they could all work together to clear the building,
hmm
and then
That must be tough for like directors, though, like because basically your students are your children. Could you ask your children to go out and raiding parties knowing they could never come back?
I don't think that they would ask.
Just tell.
I think
You are going out there
No,
and
no,
you
no,
are
no.
coming back.
I don't think that they would be telling people to do anything.
Oh, they would
I feel
just
like the
sit back
sections
and
would just be doing
do
it.
it themselves.
And then if they have like political issues, they would go to the
Come in.
director or the drum major.
Yeah, I think the director might just be like, "You're a part of the student body. You go deal with electing who
Right.
needs to go raiding."
And they just keep track of supplies.
Fair enough.
They're the accountants.
They would keep a national network connected with all the other band directors. Be like, "So how's it going on your side?"
We lost 20 people today.
Like, "Oh no, the Oregon State marching band. We've lost contact.
Oh,
Has
no.
anybody been able to make contact with them?"
How would they communicate?
Dr.
Email.
Beats.
Email Dr. Beats, smoke
Just
signals.
hold
with
it up in the air. Start that. Yeah. All right, we can still hear it coming from the north. Kennesaw Mountain High School is still alive.
Well, I don't think they could do that because then they would basically be putting a beacon for zombies.
Oh, that's true. They do have those metronomes that like you clip on and they buzz. So maybe they could do that. Hook up all their metronomes and then just like learn Morse code together.
Yeah. Do you think the directors should still make them rehearse?
Oh, absolutely.
We still got to learn the new show, guys.
The zombie apocalypse could end any day now.
And then football will return.
Yes. And like, what else are you gonna do in your free time? Mope around?
Fair enough. Well, okay. But if we're talking about Kennesaw and Bandsmart, there's so many video game systems in there and TVs.
Well, electricity is gonna cut out at some point.
I don't know. I mean, who would sit there and turn it off?
Who would
I
sit
don't-
there and make sure it's running?
I mean, fair enough. Somebody would. In a zombie apocalypse, somebody would make sure electricity's still running.
I'm sure some sections could band together and put all their bicycles together and just have human generators.
No, I think for specifically Kennesaw, they're pretty stacked.
Yeah.
Because they kind of have a home base
Hmm.
and it's kind of off the road a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the section stuff we talked about, I'm not so sure Kennesaw's prepared for a zombie apocalypse. I feel like it would get very clicky, very quickly.
Well, are you calling out Kennesaw? Are you telling them to become more unified in this scenario?
What?
Are you calling out Kennesaw saying they're too cliquey as a band?
No, not at the current moment. But if a zombie apocalypse happened, yeah. I mean that stuff happens.
Yeah, I guess
Like
so.
I said, like we talked about earlier, right? Society never really collapses; it just reestablishes itself.
Mm. I, knowing this world, I think if society collapsed, it wouldn't come back.
Yeah, I don't know. And then there's the people that already live out in the middle of nowhere and don't
Right,
abide by the government.
right.
They're already like, I
They'd be
don't.
the
I'm
best
already
ones
not in
surviving.
society.
They would just be like, "Oh, there was a zombie apocalypse. Couldn't even tell you that I cared.
Couldn't tell you that I cared. Never been to the store before.
I hunt my own food."
All right, so kudos to those people.
So, moving off of Kennesaw, then, what marching band in the entire country do you think would do best in a zombie apocalypse? Or like just any marching group?
Okay,
Could be WGI, DCI, indoor.
are we including high school? Because you said before we couldn't do high school.
No, I was just saying I don't think high school would survive. But if you think high school survive, go for it.
I am gonna put my vote in for Allen.
Allen High School. It's such a big group, though. They would literally need to
They
take over a
literally have
town.
an army. And I mean, they're nearing adulthood, right? So,
Right.
as long as they manage themselves enough for a couple of years.
They're still kids, though, if you really think about it. I was gonna say like the marching Aggies or like the Texas A&M. Like does Citadel have a marching band? I don't remember.
I think they do.
Yeah, like any of the military schools. Sheesh, those marching bands would.
Well, yeah, because they probably have guns.
Well, that and their poverty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the ones that actually, when they say rifles, they mean rifles.
And they probably have an actual playbook on, okay, this is what we do if a zombie apocalypse breaks out.
or like if the school gets overrun or
Right.
whatever.
That's where I would head. If we knew that, like, let's say, like, the rapture happened and all non-marching band people went poof, or all non-marching band people turned into zombies,
Went poof,
and
you're
only
a
marching
zombie.
band people survived, I would head straight for, like, a
Annapolis.
military. Yeah, Annapolis, or just a school that has a very strong military tradition.
Army,
Army, Navy, Air Force. Does Air
Coast
Force?
Guard. I don't know if Air Force has a marching band.
Yeah. Let us
Sure
know.
they do, because I know
Yeah.
Army and Navy do.
Yeah. Oh, the Marine. Oh boy, the Marine.
The Marine band.
The Marine band.
The
Oh.
president's own.
Yeah, they would be with the president.
Yeah, so you
Assuming
wouldn't
the
be able to get
president.
with them.
Yeah. Assuming the president had played an instrument, like let's say
Ooh,
Bill
that's
Clinton.
that's an interesting question, right? Did Joe Biden play an instrument? Can we get a
I don't
fact
know.
check on
Yeah.
that?
I know Bill did,
If-
and
if-
did Obama?
If Joe Biden wasn't banned?
Yeah.
No. Okay, we'll move on.
Whatever.
But assuming the president also played an instrument,
Yes. The
Yeah, I
Marine
think
Corps
that-
would
yeah.
be poof. They would
the
be
president's own
busy.
band would
Yes.
be the first line of it. Would be the military at that point.
I think they would be the one band to convince zombies that music is something worth keeping. They would play something.
Why would they be trying to convince zombies that music was worth keeping?
No, because the Marine band would still be playing music, but it would like be so perfect that even the zombies like, sheesh, we can't go bite them. That would be a national,
A crime,
yes, a literal crime.
which would imply that society exists. What you got? So I think I agree. I think the bands that would survive and thrive would be the military ones or very well developed programs.
Hmm.
What about Juilliard?
They don't have a marching band.
They don't have a marching band, but they have band.
Or are they a marching art? Because we're only talking about marching arts.
Marching farts? Is that what you want me to call it?
What is the group going to be called? Passing Wind?
Or is it pushing wind? Too funny.
Each player has more than one horn. Heyo.
Heyo. Then let's kind of go. But what marching band do you think would be the worst?
Hey, that's too mean. We can't do that. I'll take an easy one. Those kindergarten marching bands. They would look really cute, but they wouldn't survive more than 30 minutes max.
Yeah.
Unless there were those white knight marching bands that were like, oh no, we have to go save them.
Yeah,
Because
I
there
mean,
are
I'm
those
sure
groups.
they are.
Yes.
Yeah. Or like, or they go, or the white knight groups, they go to save like the home school marching bands and things.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a homeschool marching band?
At the Big Shanty Festival in Kennesaw, when they do
Okay.
the parade, they march in the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think I've seen one at a competition before.
Oh, an actual competition that
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So worth looking into.
Yeah, I
We could
think
talk
it
about
was
that on
a
our normal
complete
podcast.
a normal podcast.
Yeah.
We don't just talk about hypotheticals there.
No, we like to have a mix of talking
Yeah.
about silly things and serious stuff.
Yeah. And we're very opinionated. We don't try to just spit facts out.
That's what you think.
Oh, your word is fact now, Harrison?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I am a certifiable expert in.
Margaret, can we get a fact check on that?
can?
Can we get a fact checked on if Harrison's word is gospel?
No.
Yeah, we got a no, a strong no.
You paid.
Shot down.
You paid them off. There's bribery involved in this.
The chat pointed out that children marched in actual wars. So all those little drummer boys.
And you know, with how this economy, no, I'm not even gonna go there.
We're not bringing that back.
But did they march because they were too young to actually be in the military, or was it just like anybody could do
Oh,
it?
I definitely don't think it was because they were too young. They were drafted kids when they were like 12, right?
Oh, I thought.
You know your history, is that?
Kids as young as like 8 were drummer boys in the Civil War.
So
Cool.
I definitely don't think it's.
I don't want to poo-poo on the 8-year-old drummer boy, but it couldn't have sounded that great back then. Could you imagine? Just being a Civil War soldier, just be like, great, the 8-year-old's turn is up.
Okay, but I saw this video on Facebook, so it must have been true of a 5-year-old playing.
Yes, I'm not saying that all young children are bad at playing instruments, but the rule is
rule
that
of thumb.
you need, I will say the 10,000 hours rule applies.
Oh man.
And usually the younger you are, the less talented you are at playing your instrument.
Oh wow. I guess it's bad news bears for me.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to say, like, we just lost half of our audience because we know how many elementary school kids are going to be watching this podcast
Yeah.
and be like, wow, I feel personally called out.
Well, we're just saying, make sure you
Practice.
dedicate some time
Yeah,
to it.
you make
and,
sure to practice.
put in the hours.
Band directors will love us saying that you just need to practice.
What's the Dwayne Rock?
Be a rock.
What's the line?
You're welcome. Tiny?
Never mind.
Yeah, never mind.
But I mean, I guess in a zombie apocalypse, bands overall would probably do pretty decently.
Yeah, I think so. They're, as Dr. T liked to point out all the time, they're the largest student bodies on most campuses, so they definitely have that manpower.
They're the real cheerleaders.
Yeah.
So,
all right. I guess that'll do it for us. We're gonna pop out. This has been the Marching Arts Podcast, and you can find us on all socials at the Marching Arts Pod. That's POD. So like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all the socials. Again, this has been Harrison. I'm James, and this has been your guide to all things marching.